And now everything is going. All right. Hi and welcome everybody. Today we're going to talk about the weavings one more time. Kay is going to give a brief summary about the weavings, what they are, and what their purpose is, why we do them now. We will be talking about weaving a different world, weaving a new future, and what this all means with the ceremony. So hi and welcome again. My name is Helmut Whitaker, and I am here with our dear, beautiful friend Laura Keddy. Hi, Laura.
Hello, everybody.
Of course, Kay Cordell Whitaker, my wife, and Kay is going to share all these beautiful things about the weavings. Enjoy. Kay.
All right. I don't know if I have something wrong with my screen, but you shake a lot.
The table shook a lot, so we're good.
Okay. Just so long as there isn't something all technical, it's gonna blow up in my face or something. All right. So the weavings.
Give it just one more second. I think the Facebook thing did something screwy. I didn't push the right button. Now we are live, I believe. Okay, go ahead. I'm not going to do the introduction again. I'll write that in later. Go ahead.
All right. So we are talking about the weavings again. And last time we talked about how they started, how they came about, and the vision quests that where the spirits brought the symbols to me. And they showed them to me. They described them in great detail. It was really difficult to write that fast, but I scribbled as best as I could in my terrible shorthand and pencil on a tablet. I still have those papers. And the weavings, what they are is it's all about changing things at the absolute core, the very beginning, changing, fixing, healing, taking out things that no longer work, upgrading, so to speak, by adding things new that we want in our lives and in our world, maybe in our species. And that core, that bottom line, is what we call a blueprint, the blueprint. And in the blueprint, like when you make a blueprint to build a house, it's on paper and you got a lot of lines and all the lines for the different walls and everything in the house. It's all in there. It's all drawn in there. A pattern. It's your pattern by which you go about making your house or whatever you're trying to construct. So for us, in our 3D time space world, our blueprint is a web. It's energetically, it looks and it feels and it behaves like a web, and it's referred to as the web of life. The whole universe has a web, has its web of life, its blueprint. And as you zoom in closer in the universe to any given spot, say our solar system has a piece of that web. It's all about just our solar system. It's got the sun, it's got our planets, we've got our planet Earth. And our planet Earth has its piece of the web. And on planet Earth, we have humanity. We have everything that makes up the planet itself, all its layers, the dirt, the rocks, the waters, all the things that our Mother Earth has created on this planet and maintains, keeps alive. The animals, the plants, the trees, the air, the atmosphere, the cycles of things, like the cycles of the weather and the air, and how the air moves in certain patterns and just keeps moving around the earth, round and round and round, circulating. Waters do the same thing. So all these physical properties, all the patterns, all the behaviors of things, these are all part of the blueprint. They're all part of the web of life of our Mother Earth. So when we talk about weaving, we are literally talking about weaving, reweaving, cleaning up the web of life of planet Earth and everything on planet Earth and humanity. So how we do that? We do that in the weaving ceremonies. It's a very, very ceremonial healing process. And there's different, you could think of it in different levels of activity, different types of healing activities that can be used to help do these healing processes on the web itself. And with these different levels of healing, I don't quite like that word, but the different types of healing that are possible, any kind of energetic healing that you might have learned, Reiki, anything similar, things that maybe you just sort of came up with on your own, came to you in a dream, or you just figured it out yourself, where you're using the energies of yourself, the energies of the universe that move through you, these life energies, and you direct them, you focus them with your thought, with your intention, you focus them. And that's whatever kind you do, and however complex it is or simple, they all have positive effect. It all works because we are all energy. That's what we are. We're energy. And we start off with a blueprint, with this web of life. And the clearer you are in your mind, and the more focused you are, with the least amount of mental distractions and interruptions in your mind, least amount of mental babble going on, and worries and fears and angers and all that stuff, the more you can clear that out of the way, the stronger you are with what you can give with your healing energies. And the clearer your focus, your intent, the deeper heart level deepness of your intent. That level of unconditional love comes from the heart, from the non-linear, not the linear mind that wants to make sentences out of everything, figure everything out, categorize everything, babble all the time. That's your linear mind, and we need to slow that down and clear it out, get it to just stop, at least for a while, and put our attention to our heart, in feeling the heart. When we feel the heart, we feel the love, we are tuning into the non-linear. And that's where all the magic happens. That's why these things have been taboo in our culture for so long. I mean, really taboo, of the devil and all that sort of thing. But that's where the workings of our world, of our whole universe, that's where it's at that level, in the heart, in the unconditional love, in that focusing of your intent, focusing your attention right right in the heart, and being clear about what you want to intend, what it is you want to try to fix. Say you're trying to help your mate, or one of your children has gotten sick, or a family member, or a pet, neighbor, and you want to help in this way. This is how all of that works. That's the mechanism. No matter what tradition that you're coming from and what the details are, or the details of the processes or ceremonies around the healing, the bottom line is to get out of the linear mind, stop the babble, get to the heart, get to the place of unconditional love, and that's where your attention needs to be. There you can focus very precisely on what you want. Maybe it's your child and they have a fever, it's getting higher and higher and it's getting scary, and maybe they're getting a little rash or something, maybe they threw up a few times. You want to do something. So you get that clear in your mind how you might want to or need to fix this fever, this whatever is going on. And the biggest thing that makes a difference is the life energy that comes with your intent. We don't have to do all kinds of fancy scramble, think really hard, make, just like you're pressuring and forcing life energy to come out of the universe and go be where you want it to be. You don't have to do that, any of that. It doesn't work that way. It actually works the opposite way. By absolutely just relaxing, stopping all this babble, stopping the feeling, the need of forcing, just relax and let it happen. Allow it to happen. And that energy of the universe can come through you and follow your intent to heal, to make things better, to clear out germs, clear out poison, whatever it is you feel you need to do to make a difference, to help. And this is all about your focus. When it comes to healing something a little bigger than perhaps one little human body, something like our whole planet and everything on it, our whole planetary web, just because it's bigger, it doesn't mean it's harder. It's just bigger. But we can access the life energy from the universe. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And it's moving through everything all the time. All the time. And when we are able to be really clear in the nonlinear, in our heart, and have our focus there with the unconditional love, and being able to focus our intent very clearly and precisely, the amount of life energy that you need from the universe comes. It just comes. It becomes available. It comes to where you are intending, and it follows the directions of your intent. So that's how we go about healing the web of life of the planet Earth. We have our Ta See steps, our procedures, the healing techniques that we use, but all the different healing techniques that are out there, they all work. And with this, the weavings that we're going to be doing, that we've been doing in the past, and we're going to be doing another one really soon, and hopefully a lot more in the future. We we are using these symbols. Thought I heard several people out there wondering, what does all this healing stuff have to do with the symbols and the meaning of the symbols? Well, that's the where the change comes. That's what makes these weaving ceremonies very different than a simpler, doesn't mean less powerful, but simpler style of healing. What the spirits had taught me to do with these symbols as they were giving them to me is to hold the visual of the symbols in my mind, and the feeling, heart level, non-linear, the feeling, the love that's in the symbols, all the meaning of the symbols, and they have extensive meanings. To hold that in my field, in my mind, in my heart, and that will imprint the life energy. The intention is that all that information gets recorded into the life energy that's I'm drawing from the universe, and comes through the universe through me as well, out the palms of the hands, out the heart, out the third eye, all those kind of things that you've probably heard of from different cultures, ancient teachings and things, to just collect and direct that life energy with the intent of the symbol and the feeling. It's very important to have the feeling in there, because in the feeling, you're engaging the entire nonlinear, the feeling and the emotion, and all that love. The more love, the better. Makes it stronger, makes it all work a whole lot better. And we put it into the web. We have the web visualized in front of us, and we put it into the web. We blow it into the web. We sing it into the web. We pour it out of our hearts, out of our belly, into the web, and fill that web up. Now, the threads of the web, they should be glowing. They should have luminescence. And where the webs are crossing, there's a joint there, a juncture. That should be glowing even a little more. And there's lots of places where there's lots of webs crossing at one spot. That should be glowing even more. But as we start working on the weaving, we're seeing the entire planet, everything that's on it, including humanity, everything humanity has created, all of humanity's thought forms, it's all there. And we see what it's done to the web. We see what condition the web is in. So there's a lot of places that threads are gone. They're just gone. Some of them, they haven't disintegrated, but they're black, and there's no energy running through them, or there's a dark energy running through them. So with this intent, with the love, with the feeling, the knowledge of that symbol, we put it into the threads. We intend for all the things that are dying, dead, gone, that are destructive, that are harmful, that they be cleared out, energetically dissipated, cleared out of the entire web, and those energies totally transformed. The next step is to send more energy in, same symbol, same love, same intent, and that is to form brand new, healthy, glowing threads to put into those places. And they will be full of the information of the symbol. And the information in these symbols is all about the healing of our planet and the healing of humanity, the healing of our energetic space throughout our whole planet, and all the people, all the plants, the rocks, the soils, all the levels of the planet down to the core, everything. So we are intending with these symbols to bring about whole new ways of thinking and feeling and living. Now that's probably a phrase you've heard from a lot of different traditions. Changing how we think, how we feel, how we're living. We've stopped listening to what that really means. The symbols, one at a time, are very powerful and kind of mind-blowing in their concepts. But when you put them all together, because we will do one symbol at a time, we'll do a round of ceremony. Sometimes we have the pipes that are created for the weavings. They will be passed around the circle, and those who wish will light it and blow the tobacco. The tobacco is blown into the web. The singing is blown into the web. It's just sung right into the web. And this is a mode of transferring all of the intent and the love and the energies, the life energies from the universe right into the web to give it enough power and clarity and focus to make the changes. So as we're doing one round at a time, one after the other, we're adding the next information and the feeling, the emotion, the pictures from each symbol, one on top of the other, into those threads, into the junctures, into the whole field of the web of the entire planet, until everything is fixed. Everything is healed up. Is the web, the earth has taken everything that it can at the moment. Can't perfectly fix everything in one weaving ceremony. It takes many and repeated over and over and over. So the thing with symbols, we've forgotten a lot about symbols in our culture. We don't use symbols except for very surface kind of things. But everything around us, the way we look at things, we understand things, we communicate about things, we whether it's vocal or it's written or it's pictures, it's all symbols. We communicate in symbols. Some of them are extremely complex and hold vast amounts of information. Some of them are very simple, like alphabet. The letters in an alphabet are very, very simple. That's not a very complex symbol. But when you put them together and you write them down, we get a whole word. And you write more down, you get a whole sentence. And it gets more and more complex. Those are all symbols. We tend to like to use linear symbols, like letters and words and sentences. And that keeps our linear mind very engaged. That's one of the tasks that we really need the linear part of our mind for, is to do that kind of thing and to organize thinking and patterns and categories, things like that. But the real beauty of symbols, and this was known by the ancients, and we see it in their art, we see it in their writing, we see it in the cave drawings, things that they would put on their bodies or on their clothes. These are symbols with huge spiritual meaning and sometimes practical information as well. But like the Egyptians, for instance, with their hieroglyphics, they have about 25-ish. It varies depending on which scholar you're talking to, of these hieroglyphs that can be used as an alphabet to spell things out by sound. And you could take those exact same symbols. If you look at them in a different way, you're not trying to use them as an alphabet, they can be symbolic. I can't say the right word. They can be used as a whole syllable. But it's still using a way to spell things out as a sound. But it's a syllable, and those are grouped together. You take the same symbol again, and if you look at a bigger picture, deeper, they have a very big, deep, symbolic meaning that reaches into the nonlinear, reaches into their mythology. You could write volumes about most of those hieroglyphs, each one, just one, volumes for each hieroglyph that we find all over the walls, carved, painted. It's in the papyruses. So their written material has a linear level, that it's talking about a certain things on a linear level. But then if you look at the symbols deeper, they're carrying a huge story. A huge, huge story. All in just one symbol. We've lost touch with that in our culture. And the thing with symbols, when they're used in that kind of a way, you don't have to have them spread out in a particular order, the way we do letters. They can be mixed around in a lot of different ways, and they're still delivering their huge pieces of information. Sometimes by changing some of the order, you change an influence or an importance of some of the symbols. But when we think about how we go about in our modern culture, how we communicate, whether it's verbally or it's written, it's with that very two-dimensional, flat level, very linear. You need a linear mind to engage it. And we've developed a way of using it in such a way that we're not paying any attention to the non-linear part of us, to the heart level. And it just gets left out of the picture. That's the biggest part of the picture. Not the linear mind and what kind of information can be stored or passed on with the linear mind, but the big stuff and the good stuff, the really interesting stuff, the important and most powerful stuff is all non-linear, and it's all heart level. So that's why the ancients and the spirits use symbols. That's why many of the alien societies from other planets use symbols in that same way. That's why they were given to me in that way to use. So with these weaving ceremonies, we are attempting to make a really big, huge, energetic baseline alteration of our blueprint of the web of life of the planet Earth. And a curious thing, because our web is connected to the rest of the web of the solar system, which connects to the webs of the other solar systems nearby and far away, into the whole galaxy, into other galaxies, the whole universe. What we do here locally in our planet, on our planet, is affecting everything else. And it's affecting at many, many deep levels. Not just 3D time space and not just maybe one other dimension or two away from 3D time space where things operate outside of time and space. It's not affected by any of that. Everything operates instantaneously on these other levels. We're making a difference in the entire universe. It ripples out. It spreads out. Because we're not separate. We're not a separate thing. And that's why what we do to the planet affects us as humans on all levels. Because we're not separated from it. Our webs are one living web. And we're connected in the same way to all the plants and the trees, to the atmosphere, the air, clouds, lightning, rain, thunder, to all the waters, to the soil, to everything, all the microbes. We're very, very connected. And all the good things that happen to all of them means there's a good thing happening to us. Whatever good things that we can manage to do for ourselves, to ourselves, it is rippling out and it's affecting everything else around us. And as we intend to heal and fix and clean up our web, we are, whether we're really clearly focused on doing it or not, it's going to be happening. We're affecting ourselves. We're affecting our own health on many, many levels, many dimensions. So we bring healing to ourselves. We bring raising of consciousness to ourselves. We're bringing the healing, the raising of consciousness to everything that is our planet and is on our planet and everything else around it. And we're healing other levels of reality that we barely understand anything about. There are other, you could call them dimensional levels. I don't think we have the right word for it scientifically yet, where thought is extremely active and it operates outside of time and space. Those levels of time and space don't control it. So whatever you're thinking and you're intending, maybe you want to heal a friend or a relative that's on the other side of the planet. If you picture them, if you feel them and you're thinking about them, intending them, and you go through the healing steps, sending the energy and the intent to them, it arrives to them in their body instantaneously because it's moving through these other levels. That's not part of our three-dimensional time-space. Connected to it, but it's not affected by it. It's not ruling. That space, time, they don't rule those areas of existence. So when we do these healing things, and especially when we're doing the weavings, because of what some of these symbols mean, what they're symbolizing, they are including all these different levels of existence that we are part of and operate on and through that we know nothing about. And on those levels, that's where we're going to be raising our consciousness. And those are the levels that truly, deeply, instantly start affecting the blueprints and the web of life. So that's why we're doing the weavings. There's another aspect of why we're doing the weavings that I mentioned a little bit about when we were talking about the history of the vision quest I was on and where the symbols came from. And I was talking about the very, very early beginning times of the mound builders in the United States. These are a group of people that came from Atlantis and Lemuria as they were sinking and losing all of those lands. That culture was falling apart. A lot of refugees spreading out all over the planet, and a lot of them went into the United States and the Americas, Central America, South America. But even some of the ones that went into the South and Central America migrated up into North America. A lot of them ended up in North America. So this is a huge culture. There was millions of people, millions of them, and they made astounding cities. There's lots and lots and lots of ruins all over the United States from these people that have been, for years falling into ruins and covered by the ages. And then as white people came and took over, they've been demolished. A lot, most of them have been ruined, demolished. And there's not much of many of these things that are left except for what can be seen by satellite, which seems kind of odd because that's far away. But with different kinds of photography with the satellites, you can see imprints on the Earth, and you can look down, I don't know how many feet, but you can see into the underground, and you could see forms of things that were there. And so they've been discovering more and more. Huge complexes, pyramids, step pyramids, mounds with animal effigies. They're absolutely fabulous and amazing works of architecture. So these people, when they were first moving into the the North America and starting to build these cities, this was the changing of an era, the changing of a world. What the Hopis and many of the other peoples that have been around for a long time and kept this information alive, they say we have been living in several different worlds, one after the other. Some say that we're in the fifth world now. Some say we're in the fourth world, we're moving into the fifth. But whichever it is, we're moving into the next world. We're in the crossover time. And this was the crossover before. And this was the time that the weaving ceremonies were done. And they were done in the crossover before that, when Lemuria was first starting to sink. So it is a group of ceremonies that have the intention of clearing out as much as possible of what went wrong, what was bad, what wasn't working, what was dysfunctional, what was harmful, all the stuff that we did on our planet, to our race, or what other races that were here, to the animals, to everything that was here. We've done it a bunch of times, and we made a big mess more than once. This isn't the first time we've been doing this, making a big mess and falling apart. And so the weaving ceremonies were put into place to help clean as much of that out of the web as possible, and keep it out, and put new things, stronger things, healthy things, new ways of thinking and being and living that were going to be appropriate for the era that was coming about. And they had a lot of weaving ceremonies. A lot of the people that were engaged in doing these ceremonies came from other parts of the world to live there and to be part of the weaving ceremonies. They would gather mostly in a circle. Sometimes there'd be enough of them, there'd be more than one circle. They were often outside, but sometimes they were indoors. They were guided by a woman who was extremely old. Many of these people were, whatever their race was, they lived a very, very long time. And her race lived like 10,000 years. And she was old when this was starting, when these weavings were starting. And she was their teacher and their guide. And so they used pipes. There was a pipe for everyone there. Some of them made their own pipes. Some had pipes that were made for them. A couple of the pipes were still in existence from the weaving before that, thousands of years before, when Lemuria was starting to sink. And they did the process in a very similar way, healing the web, changing the web, cleaning it up, adding things that were going to be needed, new ways of thinking and being and understanding, raising of consciousness. They added that into the web. And now it's time to do it again. So that's why the weavings were brought back. That's why the symbols were given. These are new symbols. They aren't all the same symbols that were used before in the last two weavings, but they are the symbols that are right for us. This is for our time to clean out what we need to clean out and to be able to create our world blueprint, our humanity's blueprint, our individual blueprints, to be able to have a raised consciousness, a continually improving, expanding, and rising consciousness, to bring back the gifts that were part of our species from day one, that we've turned off, turned away from, diminished many different ways. But there's so many of these magic things that we can do where we got all the tools. We just need to learn what they are and how to use them, and retrain ourselves, retrain our way of living internally inside ourselves. That's the biggest part of these changes and the stepping into our future, is to learn how to use our mind, our linear mind, our whole non-linear self, which is a mind as well, to use it the way it's meant to be used, and much more fully, completely, to gain understanding of how to focus our attention, how to collect our attention and focus it at will. I keep hearing people talking, about how rough the world is, how rough their life is, and they're so tired of listening to their own mental babble, and they're always saying all this horrible stuff to themselves, either about themselves or about somebody else or about the world, or how everything is so bad. There's no chance of change. They're doomed, that this is what humanity has come to, and that they have no choice, that they're forced, something is forcing them, they have no power over it, that something's forcing them to think and feel in all these awful ways all the time. And all that stuff is lies. It's just make-believe. It's lies. There's no truth in it. Our entire culture is living like that and believes it. And so we make all these thought forms that are covering our planet. We're living in a sea of thought forms. A lot of them are just like that. And we don't have to be. We have the power to change it. We have the power to make it, and we did. We made it. We made all that stuff. And we make ourselves think that way and feel that way and turn everything that's in our heart, our nonlinear part of our being off, turn away from it. We make believe that we're disconnected, we're separated, but we're not. So as we're healing our web of life here on planet Earth and humanity's web of life, these are things that we want to clean. We want to clean out. We want to heal it. We want to have people be able to understand on a deep level, a really deep level, to learn in a sense, you could say telepathically, that they have all this power. They can turn all that stuff off and throw it away anytime they want. Anytime you want, you can just turn it off and throw it away and never look back, and keep your attention focused in your heart, in the love. And with the non-linear, where we feel and know our connectedness, and any kind of information energy, love, it's all there. It's what we are. It's what we always have been. And in order to make the future that we hear, people talk about and the ancients have talked about, that this wonderful world, this great heaven on earth kind of world that we could be living in very soon, we have to make that world. That's us. We have to make it, which means we have to stop making the old world, the old web, the old blueprint. And by doing the weavings, we help ourselves do this, to learn to be it and own it and live it. Very rapidly, actually. So that's a little bit about what the weavings are. So, Laura, Helmut, do you have any specific questions?
Thank you, Kate. It's beautiful.
You.
You covered it.
Yeah,
Again.
I did have one question, and hopefully it's not a Pandora box kind of question that I'm good at. But I have some assumptions why the weavings are so important now. But it popped into my head, this trajectory of the last 100 years the modern world has been on. It seems like it's kind of picked up the pace of challenges and errors, and is there a reason the weavings, or have they been doing them for 100 years? It's just like, is there something more available or happening now than there was 100 years ago, where we could have started them then? I mean, I'm born now, so I'm kind of glad it's happening than it was 100 years ago. But I'm just curious of, this date, 2000 something versus, 1900s.
Before you answer that, Kate, I just wanted to mention, for all of you listening, if you have questions, please post them in the Q&A. When you should see a menu button that says Q&A. You can put your questions in there as well, and we get to those too. Okay.
Just a little question. Sorry.
Yeah. We started doing the weavings in the mid-90s. It just was not time before that. It's only worth doing them when it's time. And one of the reasons it's time right now, and you hear that from so many different cultures. They've been saying that since about the 70s, and then talking, a little bit of their secrets, a little tiny bit, and then next decade, a little tiny bit more, and the next decade, a little tiny bit more. Now they're just, most of them are really putting a lot of it out there. They're things that they've been keeping to themselves, their knowledge, and very important pieces of information for humanity. But they would have been lost and distorted if they were let out any earlier. And one of the reasons now is the time is because of the galactic atmosphere that we are moving into. As a galaxy, our solar system is moving. It's traveling. It's a pinwheel kind of a disc pinwheel shape, and it just keeps, spinning around and around and around. It's pretty slow, that big movement. It's a giant galaxy, so it looks pretty slow from our point of view, but we're actually moving through space. We're moving through an area of space. And as the galaxy does this, it is changing. Things around us are moving in relationship to each other. Our star systems that are nearby, and other galactic stuff that's out there. It's very dynamic. It's alive. It's not this dead pinwheel that is just spinning there in space. So we're moving into an area that has so much more energy, different kinds of energy. Another movement that we're in the middle of is our solar system for 26,000 years, well, half of that, this is the galaxy on edge. We're out here on an arm near the outside of the galaxy. And our solar system for, I guess it's about 12, 13,000 years, it hangs down here a little bit. Not quite proportionally correct here with my fingers, but it hangs, it's not living in the ecliptic of the galaxy all the time. It hangs down. And as it moves, it goes into the ecliptic, it comes up a little bit, and then it's making its own little circle here, and it goes into the ecliptic, and then it hangs down again and comes back. So it's 26,000 years between a really nice long visit in the ecliptic. And we've been, science says that the last few visits into the ecliptic, we've been there longer each time. And in the ecliptic, there's far more material. There's more stars. There's more light. Just light from the stars and the nebulas that is just ambient. It's just around us. Photons. We have a lot more. And since about the 1980s, they started noticing, scientists, noticing that the space, the field that we were moving into had a lot more light in it. And they had a lot less understanding and knowledge back then, so they didn't know what to make of that or why, or they just didn't have enough knowledge, pieces of the pie to put together and figure it out. But there's a great deal more cosmic energies there. We have the visible light, we have a lot more visible light, but these stars are putting out so much more energy in the spectrum of electromagnetic energy that they're putting out, besides visual. This is huge, huge, huge amount of different kinds of energies. We know about X-rays and cosmic energy. Those are just two small types, two little groups of that spectrum. And so we're moving into the ecliptic. We're in the ecliptic now. And there's much, much, much more of it that is bombarding the Earth and its magnetic fields, the Kuiper Belt. And it has influence. It has a lot of influence. There's new areas that the whole solar system and the whole that whole arm of I think it's the Orion arm. It doesn't have anything to do with the Orion that we see in the sky, or the constellation. This is the name of that belt. That twisting the way it does, it's moving into a whole new area of space that has a different vibration to it. We don't think about those kind of things. Science hasn't thought about those kind of things, but they're discovering that we're in an area that we've never been in before. We have influences on our planet and us that we've never had before. And some of these influences we haven't had for millions of years. And they finally have come back around, and we're now influenced by them again, now in contact with them again physically. So there's the spiritual people, ancient people, say that at this time, these energies, some of them are physical electromagnetic energies like gamma rays, cosmic rays, but there's other kinds of energies as well, that they influence human consciousness. They influence the consciousness of our planet and everything on it. And we're moving into that. So whether, like it or not, you're being influenced by these cosmic energies that raise human consciousness. So that's why this is the time. This is the time.
Thank you. That's most excellent answer. It makes more sense why we're doing it now. Hey, thank you.
And it couldn't be done before.
Yeah.
And the weaving before, they couldn't weave with the same concepts or symbols as we're weaving today. And we wouldn't want to weave with their symbols and concepts and their pipes. We had to make our own. We had to make the ones that are symbolic of the kinds of information, the kind of changes we need, the kind of healing and fixing we need for our web today.
I love that earlier you used the word upgrading our blueprint. I love that. That was such an appropriate, just like that was such a current term, used very well. No surprise. But Helmut, was there a question? Did I see?
There's a couple of questions.
Okay.
Gloria posted about, is there a symbol for healing cancers or diseases in general of the earth?
That's kind of a big category. Not in a specific way that you would say, take this symbol and use it in your healing. And it is exclusively to heal, clear out cancer cells. Not like that. It's dealing with things that are part of our way of thinking and feeling and living aware of our life and the poisons in our life and all those kinds of things that lead to cancer. I hope that answers.
And there's another one from Gloria. Are there symbols to wear to attract magnetic healing?
There would be one specifically that has to do with the magnetic field and the secrets of the magnetic field and being able to learn. See, when we get out of the linear mind, we shut that babble up, the garbage up, and kick it out, goodbye, we're able to focus on the rest of us that we have been ignoring, which is our heart and our whole non-linear part of our being. And it's not that we kick our linear mind out. You don't want to turn that off. You need that. You need both linear and non-linear. They work together. But when we can follow the connection that we have within ourselves, so we're not separate chunks of something shoved together. We're a one thing. And what is non-linear in us and linear, it's all part of us. There's no separations there. With our modern culture and our modern way of thinking, we have tried to think that there's separations there, or that the non-linear, the heart just don't even exist at all. So we ignore it. We need to wake the connection up to us with ourselves. And when we do that, the answers to everything are right there in us and in the connection we have to the universe. All knowledge is there, and we have access to it. So anything that you want or you need to find answers to, we have it. We have it already. That's part of our magic. That's part of the magic that we want to turn back on. Just like telepathy. We are designed to be telepathic. And we can't turn it off 100%. We do pick up on things, and we keep it at kind of a subconscious level, and now and again something bubbles up into our conscious awareness. But that's where we're headed. We want to gain the totality of ourselves back, and all of our gifts, and all of the magic of being alive. We want it back. We've thrown it away for millennia, many millennia. And now that we've played that game and it's done and gone and we don't need to do it anymore, we can move on and explore the most fantastic thing there is for us to explore, and that's our internal workings. Who are we? What are we? And what is it we can actually do?
All right.
Oh,
Nice.
that helps.
There's a couple of more questions. Before we get to them, I also want to post a link if you want to apply to participate in the weavings. I posted that link in the chat. And I'm also going to mention the link for those who watch this later. It's katase.world/weaving-application. So that's KATASEE.world/weaving-application. And the next question. is from Belinda. Are there other peoples doing the weaving ceremony at this time in other areas of the world?
I believe they are. They may not be doing it quite in the same way that we are, but yeah, this is something that it isn't just plopped down in one little tiny spot of the world and that's it. It has its counterparts all around the world.
Okay, that was a question from Belinda. The next question is from Dana. Is it our blend of heart and mind intention that keeps us from accidentally making things worse?
Can you repeat that? It came across a little blurry sounding, and you're wiggling a lot.
Yeah.
I'm getting seasick.
That's intentional. Okay. Is it our blend of heart and mind intention that keeps us from accidentally making things worse?
What, in a sense, it's accidental because most of the people in the culture are asleep. They don't know what they're doing. But what we are trained to do, and we're addicted to do, is to stay in the linear mind, to stay locked in the linear mind and the processes of the linear mind, the way it functions, and with all of the blind beliefs and all that kind of stuff that becomes like a dictator, an internal dictator, and that keeps us from perceiving the rest of ourselves, the non-linear, perceiving the heart, perceiving that we are connected to everything, that we are connected to all the knowledge of the universe, that we can access that at any time, that we have so many incredible gifts in our species, all of us, and we can learn about what they are and learn how to develop them, how to bring them into being. They're atrophied right now because we haven't paid any attention to them for millennia. So it is that the sleepness, that's what the Whitaker is called, asleep, is being locked in the linear mind, locked into how it functions, locked into the words, locked into the beliefs dictating and guarding, controlling everything that we do. And they aren't beliefs that we acquired like through some kind of scientific process where there's validation. And no, these are all blindly collected and blindly held and dogmatically, religiously, emotionally held in place. And that keeps us asleep. We only think about what's in those beliefs because that makes a box. We live in a box. And we only perceive, we see, we hear, we smell, taste, touch what's in the box. And that's controlled by those beliefs. And whatever we think, and we're babbling thinking all the time, we reiterate all this blind belief stuff. and all the things that are part of it and go with it, and the negative emotions that go with that, we keep nurturing it and feeding it and reiterating it. And when we look out into the world, we look at others, all we see are these beliefs and the pictures. We believe in the pictures of things, that this is the way the earth is, this is the way the government is, this is the way this particular person is. That's who and what they are and how they behave and what they think. And we hold that picture of them. Very often doesn't have much to do with who or what that person really is, or what they're like, or what they think or want, or anything. It's just a picture that we created, pictures that we were given. We create new pictures all the time out of these blind beliefs and all the garbage that they hold and all that babble. And we force the pictures on the world around us, and we force the pictures on ourselves and what we believe about ourselves. And it's all make-believe. It's all lies. That's being asleep. And that's what we want to change. We want to wake up. We want to get out of the box and undo everything that the box has created in us and in our world, in our culture, on our planet. We want to undo all of that. And when we wake up, then we see who and what we really are, and what we're really built out of, and what things really are around us, who the humans are around us. They are quite something that we never dreamed of before. Who we are personally, we're far, far more, and far more interesting and beautiful and valuable than anything that we ever dreamt of before. All of that is kept from us. We were taught to keep it from ourselves. And we keep enforcing that. We police ourselves. We keep enforcing that on ourselves to keep ourselves asleep. Everything there is about our culture, it just keeps reinforcing the asleepness. Most of the stuff that's Facebook, all kinds of other stuff that you get on your phone or your computer, and TV shows and the movies and the commercials, and they all reinforce our boxes in our big cultural box that we're in. So that's what the Whitakers call waking up. That's what it means to the Whitakers. It's an internal change. It isn't just stopping the whales from being killed, or scooping up physical garbage and disposing of it in a better way. Learning about that stuff is important, and it's good, and we got to do that. And it's nice to wake up to know that bad stuff is happening. We need to change it. But that isn't the whole thing of waking up. The whole thing of waking up is to change what's going on inside. Change it.
Okay. We have an entire webinar coming up on that subject in a couple of weeks. So I think we're good on that for now. I hope that answer helped. We have a couple more questions. Thanks, Kay. That was beautiful too. One is from Belinda. She actually has a couple of questions. Once we go through the weaving ceremony, will we be able to continue the ceremonial energy as individuals, or is the weaving ceremony only done in a group?
No, you can continue it on your own or in small groups. The more the better.
And that was Laura's image of the weaving symbols and the altar. You want to show it again?
Yes.
Yeah, I keep mine close, so it's this is my office desk, and so the symbols of the weavings are something I can look at every day and ponder and think of and bring here to the farm. And that's one of the things I noticed most is when we did the big ceremony last year, I kind of woven in a, just not the planet, but, my farm. And there was tangible, visual, linear and nonlinear changes when I came home, when I arrived at home. I mean, you feel it in you, and it keeps growing, the days after some of the healing work, because those symbols go through you. It's I don't know anybody in our group who didn't notice changes, but I loved the fact that there was I could see it in a linear way here on my farm.
All right. Thank you. That's a great.
We had other kinds of things reported through the years since we started doing the weavings. One of our earlier members, she's a scientist and keeps in touch with all the latest science stuff. And she noticed that the ozone hole over Australia had mysteriously shrunk quite a bit after, I guess, the second or third weaving ceremony that we did. So that's something to think about, and things to look for. They can be, big things, little things, but yeah, changes happen. Another one is in the radionics field. One of these other dimensions that in radionics we call it subspace, for lack of a better word. And this is where your standard energy, if you were to take electromagnetic energies, waves, and they're the same, they're identical, and they're coming and they bump into each other, they just disappear out of 3D time space. Science has kind of ignored it because they don't know how to explain it, and they don't know where it goes or what it does or what happens to it or anything. So there's some scientists in more recent years have been having some talks and discussions of what that might be. But when this happens, it becomes a scalar wave, a standing wave. And the dimension that they're referring to as subspace that the standing wave goes into, when there are atomic bombs or atomic power plants, especially when they blow up, they disrupt this subspace, and they change how the energy does what it does when it goes into this subspace. In this subspace, with scalar waves, they are not influenced by time, and they're not influenced by space. That's how come your healings, or the radionic healings, can travel instantaneously to the target, even when it's on the other side of the planet. There's no time delay whatsoever. It's absolutely instantaneous. But with these atomic bombs going off, it disrupts it. So the signal that we send from, say, here, and I want it to go to Austria, to a relative, it doesn't, sometimes it didn't arrive at all that we could detect. Other times it took like 2 or 3 months to arrive. Other times it never got to the target. It went to a different space. So that makes the healings very, it's really problematic for the healing world, whatever kind of healing you're working on. So one thing that we started to notice, and this was a lot of radionics practitioners, those who do electrical things, they were noticing this disruption, and they started creating electrical solutions to add to their machines to try to balance that out, to take that out. And we did the same thing using symbols and verbal descriptions to use intent with the bowl to make that work better, get back to normal. But in more recent years, that started to change. After the healings, it started to change. We used to be able to leave the bowl open for, that means nothing in it, nothing covering it, so that its fields are just doing what they do, which cleans the space. And you could do that for a good 16 hours on average, sometimes a little more, sometimes less, before you started feeling kind of a strain, like you needed to cover it up or give the bowl something else to do. And now, for the conditions that we have around us, an hour at the most, maybe a half hour, maybe more likely, before we start noticing that it becomes bothersome. It needs to be covered up or given a different job to do. So what that means is that subspace is getting healed. And in the electrical radionics world, they've discovered the same thing, that these add-on devices aren't needed anymore, that the subspace is healing. So those are just some examples that we've been working with and noticing on the effects of the weavings.
So you noticed that after the weavings, I think you said healing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, after the weavings. They are healings.
Yeah.
But specifically weavings.
Okay, one more question from Belinda. Will we be able to put appropriate symbols on our medicine items?
Someday. Not right now, but someday.
All right. And a question from Jennifer. I'm not sure if we shouldn't talk about this in the mentorship, but here it is. How do we prepare ourselves to be the most potent participants of the weaving ceremony for greatest effectiveness?
Do the song ceremony. That's the Whitaker's most important ceremony. It's the first thing they ever learn. It's the first thing they do. They do it at the beginning of every ceremony, every gathering. They do it their whole life. The more you do it, the more you learn, the more you grow, the more you raise your consciousness, the more you wake up. The more you do it, the more you wake up. And it becomes easier and easier to turn away from that old box that we learned how to make and grow up in and live in.
That was
Which
pretty
is,
easy. Sorry, go
well,
ahead.
no, it was about to say it was a great segue for Sunday.
Yes.
Do you want to send the link? Sunday,
Actually, I'm
what
going to
time is it? Oh, go ahead.
We're going to do a song ceremony, a live song ceremony on Sunday again, this coming Sunday at 10:30 our time, Mountain, US Mountain Time. And I'm going to send information about that out to everybody too, so you'll get those links. And as I shared previously in an email, and I think also on Facebook, I asked Katie the other day what would bring the most healing the fastest way about. And without hesitation, she said, if everybody did the song ceremony every day. So there it is.
It's true. It's the simplest ceremony I think I've ever experienced or heard of. It's easy. I mean, it's really easy. It doesn't have to take a long time, or if you really want to, you could take hours. And it's just, there's no age limit, there's no restrictions, except Whitaker say, no alcohol, no drugs, but song ceremony, and it's the most powerful. It's the most powerful because it teaches you who you are. It teaches you how to redirect your attention from your linear mind with all the babble beliefs, the box, and move it to a non-linear place, to your personal non-linear self, your heart. And that teaches you who you are, what you are, and about your connectedness, how we are connected, and what that feels like, and what it can provide. Our songs are just so big and so ancient. We have so much memory. We have many eons worth of memory and knowledge and gifts, knowingness, wisdom, and we can bring that forward right now into this life. And the song ceremony does that.
All right. I think we're done for today. This was beautiful, amazing, Kay. Thank you.
Thank you. It is always an incredible honor to be able to do this, to share this. So thank you all.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you. Oh my gosh.
Great fun.
That was awesome.
And of course, for everybody who joined us here on Zoom or even Facebook, on our Facebook group, thank you so much. Thanks for being alive. Very, very beautiful.
Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Helmut.
Thank you, Helmut.
All the behind the scenes, unseen stuff makes this, looks so simple and everything. And there's a lot of stuff that goes with this.
It's fun. I love it. And of course, I love being here. This is the place to be for me. Okay, we'll send the video link soon. Thanks again. We love you. Love you.
Love you all.
See you next time.
Love you all. You have a beautiful day. Night night and bye bye and good morning.
Okay.